Senate Majority Leader John Thune distanced himself from comments by President Donald Trump, calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator without elections, with Trump adding that Zelenskiy better move fast to negotiate an end to Russia's invasion of Ukraine or risks not having a nation to lead. According to Associated Press, the rhetoric from Trump toward Ukraine comes amid an escalating back and forth between the two presidents and rising tensions between Washington and much of Europe over Trump's approach to settling the biggest conflict on the continent since World War II. Thune is among the Republican lawmakers who have supported Ukraine over the course of the war. On Wednesday, Thune said the Trump administration needed space as it seeks a resolution. The president speaks for himself, Thune said about Trump's sharpening rhetoric toward Zelenskiy. What I want to see is a peaceful result, a peaceful outcome. Trump also contended that Zelenskiy was misusing American aid intended for the war effort and had taken advantage of Democrat Joe Biden's administration. The Republican president was riled by Zelenskiy's charge that Trump lives in this disinformation space fostered by Moscow. We have seen this disinformation. We understand that it is coming from Russia, Zelenskiy said. Earlier, Senator John Kennedy, Republican Louisiana, said he disagreed with Trump's suggestion that Ukraine was responsible. I think Vladimir Putin started the war, Kennedy said. I also believe, from bitter experience, that Vladimir Putin is a gangster. He's a gangster with a black heart who has Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin's taste for blood. I think it's in everybody's best interest, Ukraine, Russia, Europe, the United States, if they can bring about a peaceful conclusion to the war, Thune said. So that's what this is about right now. And I think most of us want to support their efforts as they move in that direction and hopefully to a successful outcome.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. As it stands today,
are you at all concerned about the president's rhetoric blaming Ukraine for starting the war and calling for elections in Ukraine, which is what Vladimir Putin is calling for?
I think what I'm in support of is a peaceful outcome and result in Ukraine. And I think right now the administration, the president, and his team are working to achieve that. And I think right now you got to give them some space. Honestly, this is something, this war has ground on now for 3 years. There's been a lot of cost, a lot of death, a lot of injury associated with it, and I think it's in everybody's best interest, Ukraine, Russia, Europe, the United States, if they can bring about a peaceful conclusion to the war. And so that's what this is about right now, and I think most of us want to support their efforts as they move in that direction and hopefully to a successful outcome.
Call him a dictator. Call him a dictator.
Would you call Ukrainian President Zelensky a dictator as President Trump has?
Well, I like I said, the president speaks for himself. What I want to see is a peaceful result, a peaceful outcome. And I think right now there's a negotiation going on, and let's see where that ultimately leads. Hopefully it'll get to the outcome we all want to see. I think he's made it clear for a long time that he would prefer one big beautiful bill, and we're fine with that too. If the House can produce one big beautiful bill, we're prepared to work with them to get that across the finish line. But we believe that the president also likes optionality, and the legislation that we'll be working and voting on tomorrow addresses, as I said, those 3 critical priorities, and hopefully in the end, we'll be able, whether it's 1 bill or 2 bills, to get all the things that the president has outlined as objectives across the finish line in a reconciliation bill. The question right now, again, is a tactical one. The strategic objective is still the same, and that is to extend the tax policy, strengthen the economy, rebuild the military, create energy dominance for this country, and secure our border.
All right, well, this week will mark 1 month since Donald Trump was sworn in as president. In the first month, Donald Trump has waged a scorched earth campaign against the rule of law. And for one simple reason: to give his billionaire buddies a tax break and have the American people pay the cost. House Republicans say 1 bill. Senate Republicans say 2 bills. Donald Trump, meanwhile, is changing his mind every hour. Yesterday, Senate Republicans voted to proceed on their budget resolution. But this morning you saw that President Trump flipped the script again, further sowing chaos.
We are going to make sure the people back home know that Elon Musk is firing VA doctors and food safety inspectors for no cause whatsoever and illegally defunding the programs that Americans care about.
The attempt by Russian troops to encircle Pokrovsk ended in failure. Despite a year of preparation and the transfer of new forces, the enemy was unable to form reliable flanks for encirclement, and the Ukrainian defense continues to inflict catastrophic losses on the occupiers. Ukrainian military expert Alexander Kovalenko writes about this. The Russian command initially planned to encircle Pokrovsk, but to do this it was necessary to fulfill two key conditions: cut off the Kurakovsky salient and form a stable line of combat contact with reliable flanks. But neither of these tasks was accomplished. A little over 100,000 Russian troops are concentrated in the Pokrovsk-Kurakovskoye direction, while a minimum of 150,000 would have been needed for a successful encirclement. Even if the occupiers had transferred all their forces to the Pokrovskoye direction, they would still not have been enough to successfully capture the city. By mid-February 2025, the situation for the Russians had become critical. The flanks at Pokrovsk had not been formed, and the city had not been encircled, and the Kurakovskoye salient had not been cut off. The enemy units were exhausted and were suffering heavy losses. The 55th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 41st OVA lost its combat capability and was withdrawn to the second echelon for restoration. It was replaced by the 15th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 2nd OVA, which was originally intended for urban combat in Pokrovsk. However, this maneuver did not help the Russians achieve success. At the same time, on the Kurakovsky salient, the 90th Tank Division continues senseless attacks on forest plantations, losing 2 or 3 companies for each small area. Realizing that Pokrovsk would not be taken, the Russian command decided to redeploy some of its forces north to the Konstantinovka area. In particular, the 20th and 150th Motorized Rifle Divisions were sent west of the city, hoping to create a threat from that direction. However, even this rearrangement did not give the enemy a chance for a quick success. From the Toretsk agglomeration, the Russian troops are 12 kilometers from the target, and from Keremik, more than 22 kilometers. A quick breakthrough is not expected here, which means that the redeployment is just another attempt to spend resources without strategic benefit. The Russian command is trying to find weak spots in the Ukrainian defense, but to no avail. The Ukrainian armed forces continue to hold their positions, destroying hundreds of occupiers daily. The attempt to encircle Pokrovsk has failed, and the new directions of enemy attacks only aggravate its problems. The Russians are losing men and equipment in fruitless assaults, not achieving their goals. The Ukrainian army is effectively holding back the onslaught, turning each new enemy attack into its own defeat.